And we're rolling. I'm recording this on the 4th of July. It's Sunday, the anniversary of our nation's independence. So happy 4th of July. Pew, pew, pew. Pew, pew, pew. That's my impression of fireworks and firecrackers. When I was a kid, I remember we used to have fireworks fights. We'd shoot fireworks at each other, which is pretty crazy to think about now. Now, a lot of cities don't even allow fireworks at all. And back in those days, it was just way more lawless with that stuff. Like little kids shooting Roman candles and bottle rockets at each other for fun. It's pretty insane to think about. Could have really gotten hurt or, I don't know, maybe even killed. I'm not sure. I know that there have been lots of incidents where people have like blown up their hands off or something when they're making M80s. I made an M80 once, or it wasn't exactly an M80, but it was a toilet paper roll filled with gunpowder that I took from other fireworks and poured into it. I know it was a pretty big explosion too when I lit it. But yeah, that was kind of dumb too to make that thing. It was probably pretty dangerous. Anyway, pew pew pew! Happy 4th of July. It's the day that America told, the English to go play with themselves. Because they're a bunch of knob ends and tossers. They probably didn't use those words back then. I think that's pretty modern English slang. But it was probably something similar to that. I wanted to tell you guys about something crazy that happened to me the other day. I was at the grocery store, right? And then I parked in the parking lot. And when I came back with my groceries, I put them in the trunk of my car. And when I opened my passenger door, a squirrel freaking ran into my car through my passenger door, and it just started going fucking haywire in my car and was just like, I think it wanted to get back out, but it just kept running into the windows and the door and everything. It was flipping the fuck out. So I had to get out of my car and open up all the doors, and eventually, it got out, but it was kind of insane. And it made me a little bit worried about, like, what if it had left behind some, like, squirrel shit or something, like parasites or something. I've heard that some squirrels carry the bubonic plague, or the same, what is it, like a bacteria that causes it? So I was, debating whether I should sanitize my car or not. It'd be nice if you could just nuke the inside of it, huh? I know there are some fumigation techniques, not fumigation, but like, extermination techniques where they just heat the inside of your house to a really high temperature to kill all the bugs. So I'm like, maybe I should do that to my car. I could, just leave it out in the hot sun maybe for a while. Park it in the hottest spot I can think of, like the middle of a asphalt parking lot. Maybe that'll kill all the germs inside of it. But yeah, that thing was going freaking crazy, and luckily it didn't scratch me or anything. Or bite me. Kinda wish I had gotten some video of that, but I was more worried about getting the thing out of my car in the first place. Didn't really cross my mind that I should take video of it. I don't know, put it on social media or something. I used to be a really big fan of conspiracy theories. I mean, I still am. I still really like them. I think there's something empowering about them. I know some people would probably think of it the exact opposite, that it's a very powerless thing to believe. blaming everything on a vast conspiracy, but I'm talking about conspiracies where you're trying to expose larger forms of corruption or like forms of, systematic oppression that are keeping people down. Or, just things that like maybe the government is involved in, like the CIA. I mean, there really are conspiracies, like evil conspiracies that like intelligence agencies are involved in. Like what happened with the narcotics trade in Central America and crack cocaine in America. And, the CIA has done things like meddle in the modern arts movement as part of, American propaganda during the Cold War. So there really are things that are true about conspiracy theories, or there are true conspiracies that have happened. But, in the last 10 years or so, they've been sort of hijacked by the right wing, white supremacists and neo-Nazis, who basically, turn them into weapons for their propaganda to try to, brainwash a lot of people into thinking that they're the victims of an anti-white conspiracy. So in some sense, conspiracy theories have been kind of tainted or stigmatized now. They're the domain of the absolute nut jobs. But before they became sort of tainted by all this crap, I think they were pretty cool, actually. Like, like that show The X-Files would talk about stuff like this, the government covering up, their information about aliens, or just the evil things that spy agencies have done to American people or different countries, like the governments in different countries. The CIA has orchestrated a lot of coups in foreign countries. And they also try to influence other countries', politics and economies and things in ways, of course, that are going to benefit America. So, those are actual conspiracies that happen. And it's just a fascinating idea, some of the conspiracy theories that are out there. Like mind control. There's the whole, what is that one called? Yeah, it's called MK Ultra. So the CIA had a program, I think it was in the 60s and 70s, where they're experimenting with mind control. And that sounds like some kind of crazy out there conspiracy theory that someone thought of, like, oh, the CIA is trying to control our minds, man. But it actually happened. And I think a lot of that stuff has been declassified. I'm always skeptical about when the CIA supposedly declassified a bunch of documents. I'm convinced that they keep a lot of that stuff, or they destroyed a lot of it. And then they just released like the stuff that is not too incriminating. Stuff that doesn't reveal too much about their operations. But anyway, on a related note, I think that caffeine is a conspiracy. Caffeine is a conspiracy to increase productivity among workers. So the government promotes it, They want you to drink coffee and Red Bull, maybe tea. Tea doesn't have as much caffeine, so it's not as big of a deal, but, they want you to be consuming this stuff copiously throughout the day. And you notice that when you drink caffeine, it's like in the morning, right before you go to work. And then it peaks while you're at work. So you're ultra alert and energetic during the peak work hours, right? And that's when you're, furiously typing or unpacking boxes or whatever you have to do at work. And then as soon as you get off work, that's when the crash comes. And that seems to be by design. They want you to use all your energy and all your mindfulness at work. And then they don't care what happens after that. They want you to go home tired and just plop down on the couch and watch TV and be ready for the next day. Be a good little worker drone. Get your ass back in the office or the restaurant or wherever you work and work your butt off while you're there. It's kind of like, the Nazis were on methamphetamines, right? Made them all crazy and alert and super hyper and wired and on edge. That's what caffeine does to you too. On a milder level, but it's still the same thing. That's why it's also a very legal drug. I mean, you could say, oh, that's because caffeine's not a big deal. But caffeine is a pretty intense drug, actually. It's just that we're so used to it. It increases your heart rate, and it changes your blood flow. It does all kinds of things to you that aren't healthy, actually. I mean, there are some health benefits to coffee beans, supposedly. But that could be propaganda, too, actually, to get everyone hooked on caffeine in America. But yeah, that's my conspiracy theory. I think coffee, caffeine drinks, caffeinated beverages are all a conspiracy. Because, this country is controlled by the capitalists, the oligarch capitalists like Jeff Bezos, people who run the corporations, people who are in, the government's pockets actually and control the government as well because with their money. If you're that rich, you can bribe, politicians to do whatever you want, basically. And, they even influence foreign policy because they want world control, world domination, basically, through capitalism. So that's where it all leads to, Even caffeine is part of that. Everything you read, all the information you get, has been influenced somehow by these ultra-rich people. And that is not a conspiracy, actually. That's an absolute fact. Everything you know about the outside world, even the, domestic world of the USA, it's all been influenced somehow by, these rich guys, these oligarchs, these capitalists, these plutocrats. The media, the government, it's all influenced by these corrupt, evil, rich guys. And that goes down to your, daily habits too, like drinking coffee. I read about how meditation even has been co-opted by corporations because they want you to de-stress because it's actually good for productivity. But they don't take meditation anywhere beyond how it can benefit you at work, like how it can enlighten you and make you more aware of what's going on in the world. They just want you to meditate so that you have a clear head for work, basically. So everything that they tell you to do for your health, everything they tell you to put in your body, everything they tell you to do physically, mentally, on your vacation or in your time off, it's all about increasing productivity and keeping you a loyal and hardworking little worker bee. That's what it's all about. So just think about that next time. Next time you take that sip of coffee or chug that Red Bull. I was wondering what it'd be like if you could drink weed and smoke beer. I know that there are like liquid, THC beverages out there. And there's probably like alcohol infused, cigarettes or something like that. But what if it was just normal for weed to come in a drinkable form and alcohol to be smoked? Then you'd have like a 6-pack of weed in your fridge, or you'd have I don't know, a bunch of beer joints. Like, dude, I'm gonna get so wasted on these beer joints, and then you'd like smoke like 12 joints in a row to get drunk. And then if you wanted to get high, you would just drink one can of like weed. That would be kind of weird, wouldn't it? But if you went to a frat party and there was like a keg of weed, and instead of everyone getting really drunk, they'd get really high, and you danced around like all high instead of wasted, probably be a lot mellower, right? There wouldn't be as many fights and stuff like that. Or like people getting sexually assaulted. And then if you smoked beer, what if a cop pulled you over because there was a bunch of smoke coming out of your car and they're like, "Sir, have you been smoking beer? I can smell the vodka in the air." Or if you're getting pulled over, you'd, quickly dump all your beer joints out the window. But the cop might see you doing it, and then you get in trouble for trying to hide evidence. It would change the whole dynamic for so many different things, though, like reggae music. What if Rastafarians were known for having some sort of beverage all the time instead of a smoking implement? Or Homer Simpson, instead of drinking Duff beer, he's always sucking on a pot pipe, and then blowing the smoke out instead of burping. And yeah, then you could go to a bar, and instead of ordering a glass of or a pint of beer, you get some weed instead. I know there are weed bars in like Amsterdam or whatever, but that'd be pretty different too. I bet in that case more people would be into weed because it would just be easier to consume. That would be refreshing too. People, I think, like to drink beverages. I mean, I know people like to smoke weed too, but I think more people have sort of a drinking fixation than a smoking fixation. Maybe because a lot of people think breathing in smoke is bad for you, so they avoid it, even if it's weed. And then instead of everyone being alcoholics, everyone would be potheads. I don't know if pothead is considered an insult or not, but I don't mean it that way. I don't mean to offend anyone who smokes weed. And then when you go to a picnic, instead of a cooler full of beers or, wine coolers or whatever, you'd have a cooler full of weed beer or weed beverages. The people would end up eating even more at the picnic, right? You'd have to barbecue like twice as many hot dogs and hamburgers, and bring so many more bags of chips and potato salad and ice cream, I guess. Cake. What else do people eat at picnics? Sandwiches, I guess? Yeah, things like that would be totally different. I think it'd be kind of cool, though. I might even be more of a marijuana consumer instead of an alcohol drinker, if that were the case. Even though I don't really drink that much these days. Anyway, that was just some food for thought. Or some drinkable weed and smokable beer for thought. Happy 4th of July. Pew, pew, pew! See you next week. Actually, by the time you listen to this, the 4th of July will be over, so happy belated 4th of July, and happy close to middle of July. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.